Let's go over to this story next. Gauteng MEC Jacob Mamabolo is briefing the media on progress made towards the establishment of a state-owned bank and state-owned pharmaceutical company. Let's now take you there live.
It was important to make sure that we are thorough. We deep dive into the legal space, into the legal framework, into what does the law say. To check if there are any hurdles, any difficulties, to test if the law does allow us to proceed with these functions. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored and I must say very delighted to say the report on both the pharmaceutical company and the bank has actually cleared the way for us to proceed. In other words, there is nothing in law that prohibits or that works against or that stops us from establishing the provincial owned bank and the pharmaceutical company. So I must say and emphasize that we are pleased that the legal framework fully supports this process. The report that we have also helps us to, navigate the compliance space because it does elaborate what the law says and how we can go through that. So this paves the way for us to move forward. I must say this is a very critical milestone and we're deeply delighted by the achievement that, the law says thumbs up, the law says move forward, and it helps us to then say, how do we deal with those difficulties and complexities that are there for us to fully comply? I must emphasize that whilst we are happy and pleased to have reached this critical point, that we can now take the next steps, it doesn't mean it's simple and easy. There are areas in law that we need to make sure that we comply with. There are consultations that we need to do. So there's a set of areas of compliance that we need to take forward. But otherwise, we are pleased that, the law says we can proceed with the next critical steps. Now, I also want to take this opportunity to just indicate to you that now that we know that, the legal framework fully supports the work that we are mandated to do, the next step from here is we are now going to brief the Premier of the province and the provincial government on the due diligence report and say, Premier, the report says we can proceed. These are the areas of compliance that we need to address. And in our briefing to the Premier, we will also outline what are the options and the modalities that we can make decisions on. And I just want to emphasize, John, that I hope the media houses present here will appreciate the fact that we need to advise the Premier and the provincial government based on this, for them to be able to then apply their minds based on the legal due diligence and say, this is the option that you are taking forward, this is the model that you are pursuing, and this is what we are putting on the table for the people of the province. Once that has happened, once EXCO in the province says, this is the direction we are taking, this is the model we are following, we will then be able to come back to you to say, this is the specific model that you are going to pursue. But we are very much pleased that we are ready to approach our Premier, the provincial government, and of course the MECs. Let me just mention to you that tomorrow we are consulting with the MEC of Health and the team at Health, the clinicians, and we also expecting to see some CEOs of hospitals there, to say to them, this is what the due diligence report is saying and what it's proposing on the pharmaceutical company. We will also consult, for example, the MEC of Economic Development, MEC Mutara, who also have got some of the institutions in the province that are a critical stakeholder to this process. We will also, as the MEC responsible for the economy, it's important that we also have a very specific consultation with the MEC on what the due diligence report is saying, so that when we brief the Premier, we can also be able to say this is the consultation that we have made. You will also be aware that we have appointed, particularly on the pharmaceutical company, we have appointed the panel. I think we did present the panel publicly during the budget speech, and the panel will be part and parcel of the consultations tomorrow. I must also say that we need to consult with organized labor in the province. Those are part of the consultation on the two tasks. Those are part of the consultations that we're talking about. This process moving forward, it's also going to require, and that is clear in the documents, we will have to consult with the ministers and the entities at national government level. It's also important that we consult with them so that we can cover the entire scope of the advice given in the documents. I must also hasten to say that we will also just need to engage the people of the province as well to say this is the model that we're taking. Let me also just say, with respect to the bank, I must make a concession here and concede the point that this is a very complex and difficult one. That is why you're seeing us receiving the report much more later. We had to make sure that we thoroughly...
Well, the finance MEC in Gauteng, they're on their plans to establish a pharmaceutical company as well as a state-owned bank.